I was 18 years old in 1969, looking at being drafted, so I joined the Naval Nuclear Power Program with a 6-year commitment of service. They put me through a lot of training. I qualified on a landlocked submarine in Idaho that looked like a ketchup bottle floating in a bottle of water at Arco, Idaho. I spent 6 months there qualifying, learning to run it. And it was a real reactor, real engine room, all of that floating in this pool. And after I proved and other sailors proved they could do it, we were sent to sea. And in 1970, I joined a submarine in San Diego. We went out to sea 9 months a year. This was a fast attack, and its role was to follow Russian submarines. And if we went to war, we were supposed to sink the Russian sub before it could fire its missiles. One of the stories I like to tell about my time on the sub was the rescue of a crew of a B-52 that crashed in the middle of a typhoon with like 40, 50-foot seas. And surface ships couldn't get to them, so 2 submarines were dispatched to go. But then we had to surface in the middle of the typhoon, so we were tossed around like a cork. Finally did find 5 of the 6 crew, pulled them up into the sub and rescued them. One of the crew was not found and died. I write about that actually in a book I just published. It's called Tall Annie, A Life in Two Genders, and it shares an awful lot of my military stories. I wrote the book because there's an awful lot of misunderstanding of what a transgender person's life is like. And mine was very productive citizen, in both genders. And I think my book emphasizes the reality of a transgender person's life. I'm a life member of the VFW. This is my hat, has my service ribbons on it. There's Vietnam twice. This is a meritorious unit commendation, which we got for rescuing the crew of the B-52. And the second one was for doing a turnaround trip, taking a second Westpac. And we spent almost a full year at sea. When I got out of the service and started a career in engineering, and I stayed in that field and ended up designing semiconductor factories for Intel Corporation. I retired, moved here from the Hillsborough area for the weather, and I was immediately bored, so Frank put a newspaper article under my nose and said, hey, the city needs citizen volunteers. So I volunteered for the Planning Commission, and after 2 years I was the chair of the Planning Commission, and I served on the Budget Committee. I became the chair of the Budget Committee, and I decided I knew enough about the city to be a city councilor. And I served for 3 years on the city council, so I decided I should run for mayor. But I lost, and a bunch of things happened that convinced me not to stay in politics. I discovered that I like public service, and I'm still engaged with the city, but politics is not for me. Frank and I have been married 19 years. The best thing that happened to me was to find wonderful support in life of a husband who is an amazing person himself.